Welcome back to New Jersey Now. More than 44 million people are food insecure. Nearly 1 million of them live right here in New Jersey, including over 260,000 children. The Community Food Bank of New Jersey is the largest anti-hunger, anti-poverty organization in the state. But can federal and local budget cuts impact their efforts? Joining me now for more is President and CEO Elizabeth McCarthy. So, Ms. McCarthy, please tell me about the federal and local government budget cuts that affect the support that you give to others.
They really fall into three different categories. So first is federal food. Last year we received about 25 million pounds through the Emergency Food Assistance Program. We're projecting this year will be more like 15 million. So that's a major hit at a time when food insecurity is very high in the state of New Jersey.
Among possible cuts is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as SNAP. How did it deliver to people in New Jersey in 2024?
SNAP is a huge lifeline for so many families, and it really allows them to use the small supplemental amount of funding to buy groceries. So it's not only going to hurt families if it's cut, but it will hurt grocery stores, farm stands, places that accept SNAP dollars. Any 10% cut in SNAP would mean that we'd have to put out about double the amount of food that we do right now. And we already put out about over 100 million pounds of food. So that's a huge gap that would be in the state of New Jersey.
Who's eligible for SNAP benefits?
There's extensive requirements for SNAP benefits, which is one of the things that I think people don't always understand. You have to provide proof that you are a citizen, that you are working if you're able, how many family members you have, and every 6 months you have to reestablish that. So it is not a program where anybody has ever seen a large amount of fraud or anything along those lines.
Please tell me about the decrease in government food through the Emergency Food Assistance Program.
So the Emergency Food Assistance Program has been providing food that we then distribute to pantries throughout the state. We really rely on that. It is one of our main sources of food, in addition to donations from grocery stores and from food drives and also purchasing. But we've seen such a big decline in that food that's already coming that we are anticipating having to spend more on purchasing food.
Now another cut, the Local Food Purchase Assistant Cooperative Agreement Program, which provides funds to purchase foods that are produced within the state or within the immediate 400 miles. What impact could this have on the state's underserved producers?
With this cut, it not only affects our pantries not getting as much produce or food, meat and fish from New Jersey, but also the producers themselves who have really started to rely on this as a lifeline. So it's about a $9 million cut, and that one is a definite. So that we will have it for one more season this summer, but come October, that program will not exist anymore.
How do these cuts affect nonprofits such as the Community Food Bank of New Jersey and some of its other partners such as the food pantries that you work with?
Our food pantries have seen, if anything, more demand, and if SNAP were to be cut, they would definitely see, a huge amount of demand. So the less food that we get, the less we can distribute to those areas. We've been trying to maintain the levels right now and have been able to, because we're very lucky to have donors that help, and we do have really good purchasing power because we buy in such bulk. But in the long run, it could certainly impact the amount of food that we can distribute to communities.
There's talk about economic uncertainty in our society. There's talk of recession. If these were to take place, how would it affect your work?
Unclear, I would say. I think, many of our donors, when they see these times, if they're able, they actually donate more because I think they see the need. But will some people, if they're feeling uncertain about their own economic situation, certainly could, we could see a decrease in donors along the way. Because our donors really range from, this person giving $5 because they just want to do something and that's what they can do, to very large, very generous donors.
If the recession hits, how would this potentially expand your current clientele?
I can't imagine that our lines just wouldn't grow and grow, and that children, there's already 250,000 children in the state of New Jersey who are food insecure. I think every one of those families, if they're struggling, we would certainly see that number grow as well.
The Community Food Bank, to do its work, needs volunteers. How can people learn more to donate their time? How can they donate their time?
We have a lot of volunteer opportunities, which is great for kids, for families, we get sports teams, corporate groups that come. You just go to our website, cfbnj.org, and you can sign up for a shift. We have people who come once, people who come 4 days a week. And we have a pantry in Garfield and Bergen County where people can also sign up for shifts to volunteer there.
How can people donate food, and which food in particular is the most needed?
We do have food drives fairly often. Again, we have such buying power that truthfully, financial donations are usually a better way to go, only because a lot of what we buy is fresh produce, fresh proteins, frozen proteins. But we all certainly understand too that some people like the concrete action of having a food drive. In those cases, I would say proteins, things like peanut butter, fish, salmon are great things for us to add to our mix, especially at a time where we might not be able to buy as much fresh or frozen.
In what other ways can people at home support your efforts?
Advocacy is a huge one. Food is a pretty bipartisan issue, and that, nobody wants children to be hungry. And so I think contacting your elected sides of the aisle, just telling people that this is an important issue to you and making sure people understand. I think is a pretty wealthy state, and don't think that there's a million people here that don't always know where their next meal is coming from.
How can people in need receive assistance from the Community Food Bank of New Jersey and its entire network of community partners?
Yeah, we have something on our website called Find Food, and you go on there, you can enter your zip code, live, and it'll tell you which food pantries are in your area, what their hours are, any special needs you may have. If you need kosher food or halal food, you can find those things there as well.
A lot's going on in the country right now. New Jersey is a really wealthy state. How can you make people understand that an issue like this, about people struggling with food insecurity, how can you impart to them that this issue is close to home?
Often when volunteers come, that's one of the things that is kind of the biggest highlight for them, that they start to understand that. When we tell them that the people in line at our pantries are usually working. Not everyone, but there are many people who just, their wages have stayed stagnant, their rent's gone up, other expenses have come in, and they haven't been able to sort of just make it to the next paycheck. So we tell people about statistics like the fact that 40% of Americans can't withstand a $400 emergency. That is who is in our pantries sometimes. Their car broke down, they had a medical emergency. They are not someone who is looking for a handout. They are someone who's working generally and just, really needs a little assistance to get their family through.
In general, how can people learn more about what the Community Food Bank of New Jersey does?
Our website, cfbnj.org, but we also, when we have volunteers come in, we're always happy to answer. Really, you can just reach out to us, and we are happy to give more information to anyone.
Elizabeth McCarthy, President and CEO of the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
We'll be right back.